And then, yeah, we're going to kind of do our introductions and we'll get started. So, welcome. My name is Deja. I am one of the admissions counselors at Wagner. I'm also a Wagner alumni. I graduated with a BA in public policy and administration. And as I mentioned, working with admissions, and I work directly with applicants from the West Coast, also students from Texas, Arizona, Alaska, Hawaii. But yeah, so happy to be joining you all today. And I am going to let our panelists introduce themselves. So, Regan, why don't we start with you?
Hi guys, my name is Regan. I am a junior at Wagner currently. I'm coming to you today from Pleasant Ridge, Michigan. So I live about 8.5 hours away from Wagner. Definitely a change moving across country, but it was definitely worth it. I want to go to vet school, so I'm currently on the pre-vet track. On campus, I'm involved obviously with the admissions team. I'm also on the cheerleading team. I'm involved in Greek life. I am a community leader. I do a lot. So if you guys have any questions about anything, I'm definitely happy to answer them. And thank you, Deja, for having me today.
Yeah, awesome. We'll hop over to Conchetta.
Oh, hey. So my name's Conchetta. I am from Kenilworth, Jersey. I am a senior this year and a theater major with a concentration in design tech management, which basically means all the fun backstage stuff. I do sound things, which is very exciting. Um, and yes, obviously, I also do some admissionsy things, and I'm really excited to be here today and talk with all of you.
Great, thank you. Kyle, welcome.
Hi, I'm Kyle Vitti. I am a senior arts administration major, a combined arts concentration. Have also been involved with admissions since my freshman year. I'm a community leader. Last year, I was the orientation coordinator with Winona, and I'm also the founder and student advisor for Out Wagner, our queer student advocacy group, among many other things.
Fantastic, thank you. Winona.
Hi guys, my name is Winona Chef. I am a senior English and government double major from right outside of Hartford, Connecticut. I am involved in Student Government Association, and I was the orientation coordinator with Kyle this past summer. I'm in BSU and other clubs on campus, and yeah, I'm excited to be here and answer questions as well.
Ooh, thank you. Emma, we're gonna go to you.
All right. Hi, guys. My name's Emma. I'm a sophomore theater performance major with a Gov and Politics minor. I'm also from just outside Hartford, Connecticut. Um, and I'm also involved in a ton of things on campus, admissions and student-run theater and dance club and Hillel with Ruth over here, and a ton of other things. And I can't wait to meet you all.
Ooh, thank you. And last but not least, Ruth.
Hi, guys. I'm a senior theater performance major from Long Island. I have a minor in Holocaust history and human rights, which is a new minor. It's pretty cool. I'm involved in admissions, obviously. I'm involved with all the theater productions. I'm the president of our Hillel, and Emma's our VP. It's awesome. So yeah, that's me.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. So we're going to kind of jump right in. Just a little bit about asking us any questions that you might have. Down at the bottom, you will notice that there is a section for you to kind of chat with us. So the best way that you are able to do that, you can just message me directly. If you go to type into that box, you can just select my name. Again, I'm Deja. I'm one of the admissions counselors, and you are able to send off a message to me that way. For the meantime, we'll kind of just give off a quick starter question as you guys start to kind of send in your questions to me. And then I'll, announce a question and have some of our students give an answer for you. So why don't we just kind of start off by saying, why Wagner? What made you guys interested in Wagner? What is one of your favorite things about Wagner? And we'll go from there. Would anybody like to start? Take it away. Why don't we start? Yeah, Regan, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself.
You're fine.
So I ultimately decided on Wagner because of the small community type feel that Wagner provides. You really get to know every single one of your professors and every single person in every single one of your classes. Personally, for me, I thrive on individualized learning and attention. So it's really nice to have a personal, friendly relationship with all of your professors. Besides that, something that I really love about Wagner is it's super easy to get involved in as many things as you want to do. Like I mentioned, I'm on the cheerleading team. I came to college without any cheer experience. I'd never cheered a day in my life. And I just was like, I'm going to go to tryouts and see what happens. And now I absolutely love cheerleading. I love being on the team. It's been like a staple over my past 3 years here at Wagner. But it's so easy to get involved. Like all these people that are in this panel right now do a million things on campus. And it's really what makes us thrive is just having a community of support behind us. So that's definitely something that I really love about Wagner.
Awesome, thanks. Emma, do you want to give us a little something?
Sure, I'll add in. So basically, other than what Regan was saying exactly, also the idea that like I am such like big fish in a small pond kind of person and wanted to be able to go somewhere where I could like feel like I was making my mark, and get involved in a ton of things like Regan was saying, but also I love the location like so much because the campus is obviously beautiful and it gives you like that suburban feel in your like classic college campus, but then you can like hop on a shuttle and get to Manhattan and just within less than an hour. So I love how it's the best of both worlds. And when I'm sick of the city, I can come back to campus. When I'm sick of campus, I can go to the city. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. And then I do see that we had one question come in, so thank you very much. So this question is, we know that Wagner has a liberal arts plan. How does that work and why is it kind of like different? How does that work in your kind of curriculum? Yeah, Winona, did you want to take it? Go for it. Yes.
I'll take it. So I came in undecided. I kind of chose Wagner because of the liberal arts plan. I knew what I didn't want to do, but I didn't know what I eventually would want to do. The liberal arts plan basically starts the day you are on campus, and you're placed in an LC or a learning community, which puts you in three classes from two different departments, and then the third class is those two departments teaching together, more or less. So an example for me anyways was my English and government classes my freshman year were in my freshman LC, and I think it was called something like race and culture through music and literature. And so I had an English professor who worked with us on music and literature and how we understood culture through those two things. And then we learned about some of the more cultural elements in government and philosophy through my government class. And then they taught a class together that gave us also an off-campus experience as well with what we were learning. We got to go and help people who are studying to become citizens and take the citizenship test, as well as tutor students in the Port Richmond area. I know that there's other classes like art history and art, or there's science and business, and there's a bunch of different combinations and they change each year, but that's where you start off basically from the ground with the liberal arts education. But all classes are more or less, I don't know, I guess embody the spirit of liberal arts, I would say. And as you go through your major, regardless of what it is, eventually you'll have to take an ILC, which is like what you would do probably your sophomore, junior, and sometimes senior year. And that's where you kind of repeat a similar thing in the sense where there's two professors from two different departments and they teach one class together. And so that gives you different perspectives from different departments about similar topics and similar content. So yeah, I definitely recommend it.
Thank you so much. That was a fabulous answer. I also want to say hello, welcome Harper and Lauren, who are also some of our panelists that are joining us. I know you guys just got out of class, so thank you so much for being here and taking the time out. We have a couple more questions that have come in, so I'm going to jump to those just so we can kind of get people answers to their questions. We have a question about minors, so I'm going to actually direct this at Emma because I know you mentioned you have 2 minors. I know a few of you actually hold a few minors, so if anyone else would also like to jump in, just give me a little wave. But yeah, so Emma, do you want to speak on how many minors you can have and whether or not you would recommend taking on a minor?
Sure, yeah. So I have 1 minor, government and politics, and actually going off of what Winona said, I actually chose my minor because I loved my LC topic so much. So who knows, your LC you might end up loving exactly what you're being taught. But anyway, so I am a theater performance major. So with my major, you're allowed, or you can have the room to do minors if you like. It can be tough depending on your major. But there are a lot of opportunities for minors. Like Ruth was saying before, she has a super new minor that was like just made. And a lot of people take like English minors, theater minors, business minors. There's all different opportunities. And again, the professors are so willing to work with you and figure out the best plan in order to get your major done. And after this coming semester, I'll have my major done within like 3 semesters, which is awesome because I had a great relationship with the government head of the department. And so I was able to get that all mixed together and worked out really well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emma. I think I also saw another hand. Did somebody want to mention? Regan wanted to mention something about her minors as well.
Yes, hi again. So like I mentioned, I'm a biology major, and I originally didn't want to take a minor because, like any science major, it can be a lot of work. But I actually ended up to fulfill my gen ed requirements, taking 3 psychology classes, and only complete my minor in psychology was 2 additional classes. So I actually ended up fulfilling that without even planning, like coming into school with the idea of fulfilling a minor. And as soon as I realized that I only needed the 2 additional classes, I actually just this semester right now, I'm taking my 2 final classes. So it's really easy, no matter what your major is, to be able to just, if you're willing to work for it, add on a minor, and it's definitely very worth it. I love my psychology minor. If vet school doesn't work out, I definitely want to do something with my psychology minor because I've just loved every single class that I've taken. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well.
Thank you very much. I'm going to also throw it to Ruth because I know you do have a pretty new minor, which is exciting. So maybe you can talk a little bit about adding in a minor kind of in the middle of your track at Wagner because you don't have to come in knowing for a fact that you want to minor in something. And you also don't need to come in knowing that you want to major in something specific either. You have about 2 years as long as you're not in a pre-professional specific program such as theater performance, PA, or theater design technology management. You have about 2 years to actually declare your major and do that. But Ruth, yeah, if you want to talk about your new minor and maybe kind of how you discovered it and knew that you wanted to add that.
Yeah, so similar to other people, because of my learning community, my first year learning community, it was a Holocaust history class and a theater class. So combined, it like completely changed my life. So basically, after that point, I kept taking more Holocaust history classes. And then after a while, as like time went on, I almost started double dipping, which you can do with a lot of your courses. Let's say you really like history, you take a bunch of classes, all of a sudden they're fulfilling a minor that you can accomplish. But yeah, so Holocaust history and human rights didn't exist, but I went to my professor and I was like, I'm very passionate about this. We have a very great Holocaust Center on campus. So basically, like I talked with her and like we worked it out and we made it happen and it got approved this past semester in the fall. And it's great. Like simply I took my passion and I took these classes that were offered and I just made a minor. It was wonderful.
Right, that's awesome. Thank you guys very much. I'm going to hop to the next question, which is also academic related. So maybe we can get some of these new folks to speak as well. Something else that is exciting about this panel is that we do have a lot of different majors going on. So I'm going to direct this next question. We'll jump to Harper or Lauren if either of you want to take this a little bit, and Kyle and Conchetta as well, since you guys are all different majors. Well, I know Harper and Lauren, you're both in the similar major cloth, as well as Conchetta with the arts, well, and Kyle as well. But I'll kind of jump to you guys so you can talk a little bit about the different facets of those. So the question is, what is the workload like for your classes, and is it more hands-on or straight out of the textbook or a mixture of both? I want to start with Harper. Great.
Sure. So for arts classes specifically, I'm a theater performance major. I'm a junior theater performance major. So for arts classes and classes that you take for that major, it kind of depends. So we have classes that are like acting 1, acting 2, acting 3, things like that, or we'll have dance classes, or we'll have musical theater performance, or classes like that where the workload isn't necessarily lighter or heavier than like gen ed classes. It's just the work is a bit different. So instead of necessarily like reading chapters in a textbook or writing a research paper or something, which you do in acting classes sometimes, you'll be practicing a song for class, or you'll be practicing a scene with a scene partner or something like that. But then we also have other classes where they're still theater classes, but they're more like a typical class. Like we have musical theater history and theater history and things like that, where it is more traditional. You'll be reading from a textbook, you'll be writing research papers, it's a lecture, class, things like that. So it kind of depends. And you know, you pick and choose what you want to do exactly, but the work can, you know, it varies in terms of what exactly it is. But I wouldn't say it's less or more than like a gen ed class or different major. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Lauren, do you have anything to add about that?
Harper pretty much hit it on the head with that. Definitely when it comes to performance class, like more performance-based classes against, or like acting, musical theater performance and things like that, you will occasionally, like, if you have a book, it's not like required, but it'll be like recommended, or typically like the only times I've ever had to like actually read out of like a textbook for a class was like Uta Hagen, and it was just like a couple chapters or two. But no, I think she pretty much hit it right on the head, where like it's not really that big of a difference in terms of like the amount of work that you do. It's just how you execute it is different, but otherwise not really a big difference.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then we'll go to Conchetta and Kyle, and if you want to just remind people what your majors are. And I know, Winona, you're also in a totally sort of opposite field with the science, or I'm sorry, not Winona, Regan, I'm looking at Winona. Regan's in a kind of a totally different world with sciences and things like that. So if you also would want to maybe briefly touch on like labs and how that works as well, that'd be cool. So yeah, so we'll go Conchetta, Kyle, and then Regan.
All right. So I am a theater major, but in design tech, so all the backstage stuff. So definitely getting into our major, a lot of it gets to be kind of more hands-on, just like by nature, like we are building the set and hanging the lights that are in the theater. Or for me, I run a lot of sound cable. But with that said, I agree with the workload, you know, is kind of the same, but just in a different format. And I think it does really depend on the classes you take. And then, of course, we all, in our liberal arts school, we're not just taking things in our major. So some of the gen ed classes that I've had have been more textbook based or lecture based. But generally speaking, with Wagner kind of across the board, in every class I've taken and every discipline at this point, a lot of it has a lot of discussion based components. So even if it's a lecture style class, your professors are still communicating with you, because you do kind of get these smaller class sizes at Wagner. Even in your gen eds, you're never having like, you know, you're not 1 in 250 people in a lecture hall. You know, that's not part of your learning experience, which kind of helps that balance out as well.
So for arts administration, it's kind of a crosses between the arts as well as business, so I can speak on both of those fronts. Obviously, the girls have spoken perfectly about the performance-based classes, but for arts administration classes, you definitely have to put in the book work before class, but it's very much a discussion-based lecture. They always want to hear students' perspectives and thoughts on the material, and we often do scenarios as well. So we'll do mock contract negotiations and everything along those lines. So you're putting the information that you're learning in the textbook and putting it into practice, not necessarily just learning it and writing it down on a piece of paper and then taking a test on it. As for business classes, they do tend to be a little bit more textbook heavy and lecture heavy. But then again, you are doing scenarios like presentations and putting everything that you're learning into practical things so you know what the words you're learning mean rather than just learning them.
Okay, so for the bio program, or really any science program that Wagner has to offer, it really varies professor by professor. So for each program, each class, we have 6 hours of lecture a week, and then we have 3 to 6 hours of the lab, depending on what class you're in. So for me personally, right now, I am in neuroanatomy and neurophysiology. And that is a lot of reading the textbook and reading the PowerPoints before class, coming to class and discussing it. And then in the lab, we'll do lots of hands-on things. Like we actually did a dissection of a sheep's brain, which was really cool. We all got our own sheep's brain and were able to dissect it and use the material that we learned during class to be able to know the proper cuts to use and which parts of the brain were which. And it was really awesome, really smelly, but really awesome. And then another class that I'm in is organic chemistry 2 right now. And this class is a little different in the sense where we go to class and learn everything in the class, have homework on it, and then we go to the lab. Same thing, we have 3 to 6 hours of lab a week. For organic chemistry, we only have typically, we'll go and do all experiments and all the reactions and mechanisms that we're actually learning in class. So it's nice to like learn the textbook and the reasoning behind everything and then go and actually execute it later in the lab and just be like, oh, it actually does work in real life. This isn't just a bunch of stuff that my teacher's making up and trying to get me to memorize, you know? So it's definitely, it's a lot of coursework and it's a lot of textbook reading and a lot of homework, but it's definitely very manageable and it's definitely really worth it, especially when you get to do all the hands-on stuff in the lab.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. In a similar vein, some questions about like extracurriculars and sort of that like, you know, student to fun life balance, academic to life. We had a couple of questions that do relate to those sort of extracurriculars. So maybe we'll throw it to Winona. I know you're super involved with like SGA and things like that, which help out a lot with some of our larger events. So one of the questions that we have are, is it fun to have D1 sports? Do people attend sporting events? And then I'm going to add this into this question as well, where for clubs on campus, you know, how possible is it where if there's not a club that already exists, can you create your own club in that way? So I'm going to throw this to Winona, and then how about we throw it to Ruth and Emma as well, since I know you guys are also involved with some clubs on campus.
Awesome. So for Division I sports, that's one of the reasons I picked Wagner. I wanted to go to a small school where I could have a personal relationship with my professors, but I knew that going to a school or a university where I was in a 500-person lecture and an amazing football team or an amazing basketball team that's like world known would not do well for me personally. So having the Division I program at Wagner for me has been a wonderful experience. I've gone to many games. I think this past season I went to almost every home football game and many away football games. They're, to be completely transparent, they're not like going to University of Alabama football game. One, Wagner, we're in the city, we just don't have the space for that type of tailgate or environment. But it is what you make it. make it. So I'm always there with friends, and there's always groups of friends there. And there's lots of people from the area that are there, and then lots of families that are there. You'll see regular parents who have like shirts of their kids and everything, and sweatshirts of their kids that are playing. So I think that they're lots of fun. But at the same time, we have theater events. So we have a different I guess, dichotomy of students at school. So you won't see the entire student body there because it's not for everyone, / lots of people are working. Everyone at Wagner is always working or doing something because of the city. But Division I sports are a plus and can be lots of fun. I've managed to get Conchetta actually to go to many of them, including like hockey as well, which is far from camp, or not far from campus, but farther than the sports that are on campus. And I actually live with 2 Division I athletes. One, or I did pre-corona, but one on tennis and one on softball. So it's very cool, I think, anyways. And then for the extracurriculars, so for me, I needed to get involved to make Wagner feel more like home because I like to stay busy. And I've managed to become extremely busy. And now I am actually the president of student government. So to start a club, it's absolutely possible. I just had someone email me today about starting a club on campus. If you have an idea that is different from a club we already have, and you can absolutely organize it and get it going as long as you have around 10 people to join and support you. There's a lot of clubs on campus. I think we have something like 50 right now, and they change from year to year depending on the interest levels of people. But say you were to come to me or whoever will be the SGA next year and ask for a club that already somewhat exists, we might gear you towards those people to try to make that club stronger and have more of a population versus making like a bunch of clubs that have the same mission. But there's clubs of all types and all different types of interests. So we'll have we have the Film Society, which puts on both like fun events, but also like events geared more towards the talent and I don't know, professional ambitions of the students in that organization. We have the Pre-Law Society, which is more of a professional track. And then we have social organizations as well, like the Black Student Union and the Gaming Club and things like that. And everything in between from academic to fun. But I think to just hammer in and then I'll wrap up because I'm talking a lot. It's what you make it. So getting involved is the number one suggestion I would give to people. It's how you find friends. It's how you grow as an individual and I guess broaden your horizons and learn more about yourself and what you do like and what you don't like as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Winona. I think you definitely, hit a lot of points on the head with that one. So I think that question has kind of been covered. So I'm actually going to jump to another question. Emma, Ruth, I have not forgotten about you. Don't worry. So I'm going to jump now to a question about kind of like the balance. So how do you handle kind of academics, extracurriculars? As Winona said, campus is definitely very involved. And as all of these panelists have mentioned, our student body definitely likes to keep very busy, and whether that be, just academics or, extracurricular activities, whether you are an athlete or maybe you're in a pre-professional program where, that's really taking up a large amount of your time as a student, internships, jobs. There's definitely a lot of moving parts to being a college student. And I think even more so on Wagner's campus, definitely if you're bored, that's by choice, I think. So kind of the question is, how do you, function with this balance type of thing? So I'll jump to Ruth and Emma if you want to share a tidbit, and if anyone else does, also just give me a little.
Yeah, so I think as the other theater majors here can attest, you're very busy as a Wagner student. Even if you're not a theater major, if you're a science major or something, you from the morning till the night are doing anything, lots of different things. So as a theater major, I'll start my morning at around 8 a.m. have a full day of classes, and then at 6:30, if you're in a show, from 6:30 to 10:30, you're in rehearsals. Then once rehearsals are done, you probably will get started on your homework after 10:30. So it's quite a busy, tight schedule. But with that being said, like I've learned from my time here that you learn how to prioritize what you need to do, organized, hopefully, and how to just manage your time and your work. And that goes the same with having leadership positions, being in clubs. Everything kind of has its own time and you work it out that way. But yeah, you learn a lot as a student being involved in so many things. I'm sure Emma also agrees.
Sure, for sure. I think another thing that I found, especially coming to college, but I sort of started solidifying towards the end of my high school career, and you probably hear this in high school too, is the beauty of time management and like knowing when the best time for you is to do your homework or the best time for you is to take your first class of the day. Like for me, 8 a.m.s won't work. So I start the day at 9:40, but then I end and I go like straight through till like 2:30. And then like my homework time is from like 2:30 to like 6 before dinner and then rehearsals. So it's the beauty of, I mean, that's what's great about college is you can like plan your schedule and things around that sorts and plan your day and what you want to be involved in, what you don't want to be involved in, and what you can handle. But it's definitely about finding that balance. But I've never really had an issue with it. There's tons of resources on campus to help you with finding that balance too, academically and socially. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We have a lot of questions coming in. Some of them are a little bit more major specific. For those questions that are more specific about majors, I am going to say that I'm going to leave those for a little bit later if we have time for them, just because we want to make sure that everyone's kind of getting the full aspect here. If it is the case that we don't get to one of your questions today, definitely post your questions in the class of 2024 Facebook page. Any of our panelists are also in that group. We have a bunch of current students that are in that group that I know would be happy to answer your questions, as well as admissions staff. So, you know, anything that we don't get to today, I really encourage you to still reach out and ask us these questions, because you guys are coming up with some really great ones. Which brings me to my next point, which I'm actually going to direct at Kyle and Regan as well, being arts administration, where you are doing a full-time internship during your second semester senior year. And Regan, I know that being a science student, maybe sometimes students aren't as aware of the internship opportunities that are available. So while we're still talking about this sort of student life balancing and juggling act that all students have to do once they're in college, maybe you guys can speak a little bit on that and how your experience has been, you know, juggling all of the clubs and organizations that you're part of, while also, you know, maintaining your academic career and graduation career goals.
So for arts administration, we have a final senior internship our second semester where we are working full time at a corporation or company within the arts. And we're basically there 40 hours plus a week, depending on your placement. And then on Tuesday nights, once every few weeks, we will have a senior seminar class where we basically talk to each other and discuss our experiences. With the senior internship, I would say it's definitely more difficult to establish your presence on campus. So you really have to assert what your priorities are in that sense. So you do have to say, like, I have this one organization that I really want to be part of. Where during your sophomore, junior year, when you're interning part-time and say have a placement 2 or 3 days a week, it's definitely easier to be involved everywhere. So during my sophomore and junior years, I did have internships and I was able to be a part of organizations, have leadership roles on campus, and still be comfortable to do a full course load, where when you're interning full time, it's basically that and maybe a couple other things. And then on the weekends, that's when you can really have time to attend events on campus and spend time with your friends.
Yeah, so just going off of what Kyle had to say, so in the science departments here at Wagner, in order to graduate, you do have to do either a senior research, so basically you can choose any doctor or faculty member in the science program and go ahead and create a research project with them. I just currently started my senior research project, so I'm starting it a semester early. That way I'll just get a jump start on everything. But other than that, it's new this year where you can do an internship in place of your senior research and then write your senior thesis on that as well. So personally for me, I have been doing internships since the beginning of my sophomore year. So I work at a vet's office on Staten Island, and that kind of counts as an internship for me. I also did a summer internship at the Detroit Zoo this past summer, where it actually counted as a course credit for me towards graduation. So that was awesome. But one thing that you'll find with the teachers and with these different internships and activities that you're getting involved with is they're all super understanding that you're going to have a busy schedule and you're going to have a schedule that sometimes needs accommodation. So personally for me, every Thursday I would work at the vet's office from 7 o'clock in the morning to 12:45, and then I would go to my 1 o'clock lab. So I would show up to my 1 o'clock lab in scrubs with like dog and cat hair just all over me. And my lab professor was super understanding if I ever was like a few minutes late because the appointment was late, or if I hit traffic coming back to campus, anything like that. So definitely the professors are very accommodating and understanding that you have internships and research that you need to do in order to fulfill these credits and ultimately hit your career goal. Also, I think something that's really unique about Wagner is it's very easy to create your own schedule for the days that you would like. So, for example, for me, I know that I want to be working at the vet's office at least 4 days a week. So, every semester, I'll plan my course schedule around that. I'll save space for my internship at the vet's office. I'll block off like 2 hours a day to do my senior research. So it's very easy, and the teachers are very accommodating and being able to plan your days so that you can have the appropriate time management to get everything done that you need to get done.
Yeah, Kyle.
Going off of what Regan was saying is, yes, all of Wagner and even your internship placements understand that you are a student and you do have commitments. So even though I am full-time, like my professors were like, absolutely, like you can go to events, or vice versa. Like my internship would say, you have class at 7 p.m. That's totally cool if you leave an hour early to go attend that. They understand that we have commitments outside of those placements or are trying to accelerate our careers, and they want you to succeed.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to throw this next question because actually a few people have messaged me about this. I'm going to throw this to actually Harper, and we also haven't heard from Conchetta in a little bit as well. Kind of a campus life related question, but how is the food at Wagner? What are your kind of like favorite things to eat? Like what's a good go-to, a Wagner staple, if you will?
Okay, so there are a few different food options at Wagner. So we have our main dining hall, which is all you can eat. Once you swipe in on our meal plan, we have like a swipe and flexi system. Flexi is sort of like dining dollars that you use at the Hawk's Nest, which is the other dining option, which is sort of like, I don't know, there's many different things in there. There's a grill, then it has like a themed station that changes all the time. Like one point it was like world culture food, like foods from different cultures all the time. And then at one point it was like a burrito bar like Chipotle, and then sometimes it's barbecue and things like that. There's a salad slash pizza slash sandwich station in Hawks as well. And then there's also a Starbucks in there. So there are a few different places you can go to get food. Like most colleges, unless it's like, you know, a big time fancy college like Yale or whatever you make of it. The dining hall is what you make of it. I can't lie to you and say that we have like gourmet dining at Wagner, but there's always something to eat. You'll absolutely be able to make something that you will enjoy eating. In the dining hall, my favorite thing that they serve is the buffalo cauliflower. Because I'm vegetarian, so that's kind of like a super exciting day whenever they make it, because it's like, it's basically like buffalo wings, except it's cauliflower. So who wouldn't love that? But they also have like pizza and pasta, and they always make really cool dishes for us at what we call the exhibition station or the action station. They always make different meals. Like sometimes they'll have tacos, or sometimes they'll have ramen, or it'll be a smoothie bowl, or they'll make like Texas toast or something. So they always make really interesting things, and they also really like to hear from us in terms of what we want to see in the dining hall. And they also just built a brand new section of the dining hall. Before it was its own corner, but now it's like an entire new place in the dining hall where it's allergen free zone, so like dairy free, egg free, tree nut and peanut free, and gluten free, things like that. So that's really exciting. That's a new feature of the dining hall that unfortunately we didn't really get to use before we went home. But yeah, they really like to hear from us from what we like to eat. Emma actually has a fun story about this that I love to tell whenever I have a tour or something. Talk about Margherita Pizza for a second.
I thought you'd never ask. Okay, so my favorite food at Wagner College is the Margherita Pizza served in dining hall. And and basically it is so good. It is hands down the best pizza they serve, but as Harper was saying earlier, it's kind of a rare occurrence, sadly. So this past year it has been my mission to get Margherita Pizza to come out more often. So again, being such a small school, we're able to contact directly the dining services and head of dining services and the head chef and things of that sort. And so I sent over a nice little email saying that everybody loves Margherita Pizza. Don't understand why it's not out every day. But thankfully they heard my plea and it is now out more regularly. It should be out more, but
we love that. Yeah, I think dining services definitely does a great job of staying connected with students. Chef Mike, shout out to Chef Mike. You come to Wagner, absolutely, you cannot graduate Wagner without knowing Chef Mike, meeting Chef Mike. He's wonderful. Conchetta, did you have anything to add as well?
We said a lot about food. But I will say everybody eats. That's like always my thing going to Union. I'm like, everybody eats, so everybody goes here. And the Union building is where our dining hall and our Hawks Nest are. And I will say the one nice thing is you will have the things that you enjoy. And the cool thing about Wagner being small is that, like, if I go to the Starbucks, everybody knows my coffee order. And we have an omelet station. That's our action station in the morning. And when I was walking into the dining hall during the last couple weeks of our cut short semester, Phil is the person there during the mornings, and he would have my scrambled eggs already starting to cook by the time I entered. So that's a nice thing that happens with dining services, is that people actually know who you are and they know what you're eating before you even get there, which is great.
Yeah, we definitely love that. I just want to be a little bit mindful of time as well, because I know we're starting to approach that kind of 1 hour mark. I don't want to, keep people here too much longer. I know you guys have a whole bunch of questions still kind of going. So I think that the last topic that I'm going to leave you guys on is going to be about study abroad. I know that Kyle did a semester abroad, and I know Lauren and Winona, you guys, and Emma as well, and I know Ruth did too, have participated in some kind of smaller trips abroad, not necessarily a full semester. So I'm going to throw it to Kyle to kind of wrap us on that, traditional semester experience. And then if Lauren and, Emma and Ruth can join in as well, if you guys want to talk about that 3-week experience that you guys did in Dresden for vocals, and Winona, if you would like to talk a little bit about those kind of winter break trips, that'll be good to go. Some of our panelists, I know you have places to be at 5 o'clock, so if you have to sign off, not a problem. Thank you. We appreciate all of you guys being here. So yeah, we'll throw it to Kyle to talk a little bit about that semester.
So, if you have the opportunity to study abroad, it is the best semester you will ever have in your life. Please do it if you are able to. I went to London last spring alongside 11 other people from Wagner, and it was such a formative experience. The academics were excellent, as well as the team over here at Wagner really make sure that you're comfortable with where you're going. They'll reach out and will be a resource to you while you're there. So when you're choosing, they have a number of different international programs that you're able to go through. I'm an ambassador for IES, which is the program I went through, but they also have CIS, API, and a bunch of others. But if you also find a program that you're interested in that Wagner doesn't have already a contact with, you can also open up that dialogue and they'll help you figure out how that'll work with your plan at Wagner. And basically, you can take your general education courses abroad. You can take major classes abroad. It's all up to you, and you can choose wherever you want to go, which is the great part about it. You're not restricted to a number of locations, like 10. I know people that went to New Zealand, people went to Asia. I was in Europe. I'm not sure if anybody did Africa for study abroad, but I know Winona has done the EYHs in Africa. So there's plenty of opportunity to travel while still being a student at Wagner. And I definitely recommend doing it because it definitely puts a worldly perspective, especially in the time we're having now. Understanding those places that are struggling is very unique. And if you're able to do it, I definitely recommend you do.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Kyle. And that's a wonderful point. That if we don't already have something set up, a partnership, if you have a place in mind that you really want to study abroad, somewhere where we don't have that connection, our international office, they do work very, very hard to try their best to make sure that you are able to have that opportunity to study somewhere that you've always dreamed of studying or something like that. So I'm going to hand it over to Lauren, Ruth, Emma, if you guys want to kind of tag team your trip abroad, because I know you guys did that through a vocal performance kind of track. So yeah, if you guys want to talk a little bit about that as one of a sort of like one-off study abroad experience that isn't a traditional semester.
Oh, I would love to. So the program that we did is called Orfeo Vocal Arts, which isn't necessarily through Wagner College, but it was created by Alan Dornack, who is one of the vocal teachers on our campus. So if you're a theater performance major, vocal performance major, or if you're just interested in voice lessons in general, you have an opportunity to study with him and a variety of other incredible voice teachers on our campus. But it was 3 weeks studying musical theater or vocal performance, or really any type of vocal performance you would like, in Dresden, Germany. And we would take German classes in the morning and breathing and alignment classes to get you warmed up for the day. And then every day you would have either an acting class with an acting teacher, who my year was Teresa McCarthy, who is one of the acting teachers here at Wagner College, and she's fantastic. You would have voice lessons with Alan, and then you would have music classes with an accompanist who came on the trip as well. And then 2 times out of the week, you would perform at these incredible venues. Like one of the last weeks there, I performed in this concert in front of like 1,200 people with some of my other peers who went on the trip, in this beautiful like backyard of this great palace right on the river in Dresden. It was stunning. And then you have different opportunities to perform at all sorts of different venues. And then on top of that, you do excursions to other places in Germany as well. So we went to Meissen, we went to Königstein, which is a giant fortress a couple miles away. So a lot of really great opportunities to not just spend 3 weeks in like this beautiful town and like learn the culture and even learn the language. Like you would take these German classes and they would actually, when we go out to dinner, be like, okay, order in German, or like being able to put those skills to use. It was just such a unique experience that truly has influenced since then how I personally, as a theater performance major, perform in my work. So Ruth, I'm sure you can attest to that also, or Emma can probably attest to that.
Yeah, no, Lauren hit all the details of the program. The one thing I will say though that is great about the program is that sometimes, you know, even though you might be theater major or really any major, and sometimes you don't find yourself able to take off a whole semester. Maybe you want to be involved in show
Oh no.
programs. Huh? I'm good. Okay. Yeah, I don't have good connection either. The good part about Wagner is just that they offer these like EYH trips or these little study abroad trips that are just 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks that happen during summer breaks, winter breaks, spring breaks. So if you can't ever study abroad, you know, fear not. There's lots of other opportunities.
I was just gonna go off of that. I am supposed to go to that same program this summer. We're crossing our fingers. Harper's going too, so hoping that's happening because I can't wait for that. But also going off of what Kyle was saying, I am planning on studying abroad spring semester next year in Italy, and it was actually a program that I found on my own and I was really interested in. And so exactly what Kyle was saying, I proposed it to the Center for Intercultural Awareness, and they've helped me get in contact with the program, and I'm currently like setting up all that stuff. So I'll be the first person at Wagner to go to this program and get that training and everything, and also see Italy, which well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then just to kind of wrap up this question, Winona, I'm going to throw it to you to talk a little bit about those EYHs. We had a few questions about specific majors being able to travel abroad, which I know, I think Ruth mentioned it, that if you are in a major, it's a little bit difficult to take off that full semester period. Some of these EYH experiences, which are expanding your horizons, are the best way for you to still get that study abroad experience while not missing out on a full semester on campus.
Yeah, so I was looking to study abroad actually in South Africa my sophomore year. So any place is actually possible. Just due to personal reasons, I wasn't able to do it. So I did the EYH trips, which are expanding your horizon. And my sophomore year, they went to Botswana, and Conchetta actually went with us. And to be completely transparent, it was the most influential experience I've ever had in my entire life, and hands down the reason I'm most proud about graduating from Wagner. To put it lightly, it was the it's like you can't really put it into words. I've written articles about it since then, but they're amazing. We went to Botswana, and we were able to go to Zambia and Zimbabwe because of the proximity of those countries for that first trip. And what we did is we worked and partnered with an organization, and we went, and each of us were like divided into different stations, and Conchetta and I worked at a local orphanage. But we also got to experience the community outside of just that specific service area. And while you're going there for service, in reality, you're going there as an individual looking to grow. You're going there to and being welcomed into these communities that are welcoming you with open arms, and looking to help you grow as much as you're looking to help them. And in reality, you get impacted more than you're actually impacting, but that's the purpose of these trips. So it was amazing. And on that trip, we actually got to have some vacation time. And we went to Victoria Falls, which is one of the seven wonders of the world. And it was breathtaking. It was so beautiful. It was a perfect day and everything. And we also got to do, if you opted in, you got to go to Angel's Pool or Death's Pool, which is a pool that's a natural pool that's right on the water. But the point is that I wouldn't have been able to have those experiences if I hadn't decided to go on these. And they're actually normally subsidized by Wagner through different initiatives that Wagner does. And so it's a more affordable trip, and you're able to fundraise for it. So it's affordable and it's worthwhile. And I don't think I would have ever been like, oh yeah, let me go to Botswana, if this program hadn't been presented to me. And because of how much I enjoyed it, I actually went on the EYH trip my junior year as well, which was to Kenya. And so we did different work there. It's a completely different country, a completely different part of the world. And that was also just as life-changing and just as impactful. And you make a really good bond with some of the students you go with. Like one of my best friends is someone who I was rooming with in Botswana, and like we wouldn't have gotten as close if we did if we weren't going through that together. So yeah, definitely worthwhile. I say even if you study abroad to do it, it like takes up some of your time at home in the winter, but like by the second week of being home after going to college, I don't want to be home anymore because I don't want to listen to my parents' rules. So I want to go back to school or want to go on a trip with the school. So it's a wonderful opportunity, and it's after the holidays, it's after Hanukkah, it's after Christmas. And it's after New Year's, so you're not missing any of those staples. So I definitely suggest it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Winona. I just got one last question, which I'm not going to throw to the panel just because I do want to be respectful of people's time, since we are hitting that 1 hour mark. But the question was about, pre-professional programs, such as like physician assistant. The reason why I'm singling out that program is because the question was whether or not PAs are able to study abroad. The short answer is yes, but it's actually bundled into your curriculum as a physician assistant major. If you want, extra details on that, definitely feel free to either reach out to me or your admissions counselor, or again, post on the Class of 2024 Facebook page. As I mentioned before, as we're kind of wrapping up and signing off, I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining us, and thank you panelists so much for taking time out of your days as well to answer some of our admitted students' questions. Any questions that we didn't get to today, definitely, I really encourage you to use the Facebook page. Admissions staff, such as myself, panelists, current students at Wagner are all in that group as well. And we're always more than happy to answer any of your questions. And as always, you can also reach out directly to your admissions counselor. We're here to help. That's our job, and we're happy to do it. So without further ado, I'm going to say that's a wrap on this Wagner Wednesday. So thanks, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Bye, guys. Thanks.